everyone and welcome to The Colour Cave, where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem and today I am going to be playing with a viewer's art. Some time ago when I opened my first lot of Happy Mail, and I was very happy about it, I received this lovely envelope from our friend Crayola Skies. Hello! And inside this envelope not only was there some awesome tea, but she also sent me some of her artwork, and it is absolutely adorable. I present to you a giraffe that is a mermaid. So I don't know whether that's a giraffe maid or a mer-giraffe? Mer-giraffe? A miraffe? You guys can leave me a comment, let me know what you think. But obviously I'm not going to deface the original. I have made a copy of it, and all we're going to do today is just have a plain sketchbook and use a bit of imagination and just have a tiny little bit of fun. I'd just like to thank everyone that has sent me things in my PO box up till this point. There are a few people who have sent me some artwork and colourings. You guys know who you are, and some of them will be up on the wall behind me if they are not already. Beautiful gallery wall. So I just want to express my gratitude to you because that's the kind of thing that absolutely makes my day. I just love it and it makes me very happy indeed. So thank you for taking the time out to go to the post office and send me something awesome. Let's get to top down view and we can get going. Okay, so quick disclaimer before we get started with this video, there may or may not be alcohol in that glass. So really what I wanted to do was, just in my sketchbook, as I say, this is kind of like informal, relaxed, I just wanted to use my imagination and, you know, have a bit of fun and a bit of creativity. So up until this point, I've just been doing my usual. I've just been having a bit of a brain fart in my sketchbook. And the first thing that I've done here is I wanted to try and take Crayola's idea and just put it into my own drawing style, because I seem to be able to think about things and translate things better when I've physically drawn it out myself. And it's the same, interestingly, spelling words. See, if I write a word down, that's me, I know how to spell it and I never have to do it again. And I think this has kind of gone through the same thing. So you can see here, this is my interpretation of our little friend here, and I really want to call him Gerald. Gerald the giraffe, that's too obvious, isn't it? Right, we'll scrap that just now. And I was sort of experimenting with various fins and things and maybe thinking about moving his tail down. And I had a little play about with faces here, but this just looks like a normal giraffe to me, so whatever. So yeah, I wanted to think about a little scene where our friend would fit in here, and you know, we can have him like maybe swimming across the page or something. My background is primarily animals because I live on a farm. My degree is in animal-y type things, so I do tend to look at reasons for things with animals. You know, it's something I go into in quite a lot of depth, even with my job. Giraffes have become genetically modified through nature and not by scientific or human means, but their necks are designed so that they can reach up to very, very high trees and eat their leaves and things. And it's areas where other animals, perhaps other grazing animals certainly, can't reach, so therefore they are not competing for their food. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, we've got a giraffe mermaid hybrid. Now mermaids, I don't really know much about mermaid lore, and I was thinking to myself, so why is this giraffe now a mermaid? And my thought, obviously, going on what we were talking about, if the leaves and things are really high up, you know, they're all the way up here, and your little giraffe's living down here somewhere, then obviously, you know, that's going to be an issue. But what I'm thinking is that these mer-giraffes, they are basically creatures that still eat leaves and vegetation above the water level, and that's why they've got long necks. So they can breathe out of the water, they can hang out up top if that's what they want. You know, we could put a nice little bit of a rock in here or something, and if they want, they can hang out in the fresh air, or they can go and disappear back down into the water. So by having these long necks, it means they are able to still swim in the water, so their bodies would still be in here somewhere, and you know, their little tails going on, and they would be able to reach up out the water and have a nibble on their favourite snacks up here. Also, my other thought as well was that maybe when they're babies, so like, can you imagine a baby mer giraffe? I mean, a little stumpy one of these is going to be really cute. But maybe the little baby ones don't have long necks when they're born. Maybe they grow their necks as they get older. And they don't have their little dealy bopper things yet either. Maybe they get them when they're when they're bigger as well. So I'm just going to use Crayola's drawing as a reference here just very quickly, because it is going to be pretty much the same thing but without the neck. But I want to make sure that we get it right. Not only have they got the bump at the back, maybe they've got little pot bellies as well because they're babies. How cute would that be? Have you ever seen a puppy tummy? Or the puppy tummies are like they're really cute. Yeah, so I'm thinking like maybe they grow, you know, their necks grow as they get bigger, so maybe the contents of their tummy sucks in the way and goes up their neck or something. I don't know. But I think as well they should have like a training fin, you know, like an extra fin to help them swim while they, you know, a bit like training wheels on a bike. I think they should have something like that, and then as their neck stretches that just kind of like falls off or something. I was going to go to the extreme as well of maybe they grow their spots as they get older, you know, like a Dalmatian, but I figured that it's going to end up not looking like anything. It kind of looks like a moomin with flippers on at the moment. So yeah, we'll give him his giraffiness. There is actually a proper name for the pattern on a giraffe's coat, and it has escaped me. I just can't think of it off the top of my head right this second. And I was thinking we maybe get some Inktense pencils on the go because I haven't used them in a while. Yeah, okay, right. So I never really explained about the babies, did I? Yeah, so maybe the babies have short necks and they grow into their necks. There we go. Oh, how adorable is that? And when they are infants like this, or whatever the name is for a baby mare giraffe, maybe mum has to reach up and, you know, pull the leaves down off the tree out of the water and feed it to the baby the way a mother hen feeds her chicks or something like that. Or maybe the babies can't breathe out of water. Maybe they have to stay in the water for the first little while until they grow their neck. Right, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so we're maybe going to have an ear there and a dealy boppers there. So she does have quite a big round sort of bottom part, so I want to try and keep that as much as possible. How cute does he look? Right, okay, let's do it. Maybe have some branches. Are they going to be more like ferns maybe? We have to decide where the water line's going to be. Something I've learned, some of you will know that I tend not to draw straight lines with a ruler unless I need it to be very precise. I find it very difficult with a mechanical pencil, and I actually prefer just a normal HB or whatever. I just find it a lot easier for some reason. So I'm thinking let's just let's get scientific about this here. So if our giraffe's about this size, then we want the water level to be around here somewhere, because it's just his body that's going to be in the water. Even when I'm doing silly things and rough sketches, I'm still thinking all the time about proportions and where I'm putting my lines. So our little baby dude's going to be hovering here under the water. Get those little diddly ears in. I imagine their tails would kind of float, you know, like upwards. I don't know why that would be the case, but that's weird because they've got two tails. I just realised they have two tails. So let's have, might have to move baby up a bit here because this is going to be like the bottom of the lagoon bed. Yeah, we're going to move them up a little bit. Dagnammit. So maybe put them up here. Get those ears in. Get that fat tum-tum in. Get we'll call that the primary tail. And I think I'm going to go with this idea of having like a training fin, like a wee dorsal fin or something. And that's just until they learn to swim and they can bob themselves up to the top. I quite fancy some like wiggly waggly type seagrass kelp in here. Maybe something could be hiding in behind it, like a little crab. Do you get crabs in lagoons? Or we just have two googly eyes poking out. That's even better. Watching what's going on. Yeah, because that could be like a little snail hiding in the corner, and the other guy's been a bit braver and just decided to leg it out because he knows what's coming. He knows it's feeding time. I have no idea what sea snails look like. Not that this is a sea snail, it's a lagoon snail, obviously. I wanted to transpose Crayola's picture into my picture as accurately as possible. So I'm actually going to use my light pad to do this. This is a Huion light pad, and the reason that I like it is because it is super skinny. And it's really good for when you're working in books and things and you know, you can't freely manipulate the paper quite as much. Is that going to be far enough in? Yeah, okay. All I'm doing is tracing directly over. In pencil first of all, because I don't know what else I'm going to be putting in round about, so I don't want to stick it in ink just yet. Okay, tail. I was saying about the tail floating, that's really funny because that's going to sit like just on my waterline. Yeah, I have to say, a light pad is not something I use very often because I'm not really in the habit of tracing things, but for the money that I paid for it, I paid something like maybe £26. It's really handy, especially if I don't want to replicate things digitally, because I don't have an aversion to digital art. I am learning, but I just feel that I spend most of my time in front of a computer screen. So when I'm arting, I don't really want to be doing it, you know, as well. I use art as an escape from screens. And it's something I feel quite strongly about, taking time away from stuff like that. So the other thing I've found about doing things like this and tracing things, even if it's your own work originally and maybe you want to just transfer it onto, you know, a different coloured piece of paper or something, when you trace things, they're like the expression of the drawing sometimes kind of gets lost. And I don't know whether it's because you're more rigid when you're drawing over the lines, but I've noticed it a couple of times, and it's something that, as I say, I would rather copy by eye than do this, but because this isn't mine, I want it to be in the picture. So now I'm going to start manipulating the head to suit me. So here and here. Oh, look at that, that's perfect as well for the leaves that I've already put in there. The dealy boppers are going to be pointed back the way a little bit, I feel. And the nostrils are pointing down the way, so that means they need to go that way. And we're going to keep that little expression on her face as well, because she looks happy. Yeah, I think I'm just going to have a sort of reedy tree type background here now. And we'll maybe have some more leaves down here. Okay. So we'll just start lighting everything up now. Okay, I'm just going to do a section at a time, so I'm going to start with this background. I've got my graphy tints here as well. I might actually use the graphy tints on the background. Here's the graphy tint ones, and you can see they're very sort of muted, but they might be quite nice for some water effects, and I was thinking more of these sort of greens for the background. There we go, I just had to rearrange myself a wee bit there. Everything's kind of like, it's getting a bit woohoo on the desk now. Alright, so I'm going to start with this coloured called Mustard. So I'm jumping between ink tints and the graphy tint pencils, and I just want to get a little bit of a background going here. Now the thing to remember about the ink tints pencils is that they are very much as the name suggests, they are an ink-based medium, so once you have activated them with water, you do have to work quite quickly with them, and they will, once they're kind of set, they're almost permanent. I'm really just mapping out my colours here, and it's exactly the same way as I would do if I was tackling a colouring page as well, so that I've got a rough idea of, you know, where I'm actually going with things. So this is going to have a sort of like a kind of painterly feel to it. And it's something that I really like, and as I sort of grow and learn in terms of art, it's a style that I've found I really like. And the nice thing about using these pencils as well is once it's dry, you can work over the top of it with more pencil, and as long as your paper will take the water, then you can kind of keep going, and it lets you build up some really interesting effects, and sort of, you know, the deepness of colour can be quite varied as well. Start putting in some leaves. Just try and make the background, you know, a wee bit more interesting. You don't have to take particular care in what you're doing, because it's really when you come in with the water brush, that's when the work starts. So it's a very nice way to work with things. I'm going to get some darker colours in, so I'm going to move into the graphy tint pencils a little bit now. So I'm varying my pressure as well when I'm doing this, because I want some of these sort of branches and twigs and things to look as if they're a bit further off in the distance. And I'm going to use quite a fine tipped brush for this now. So by working with this smaller brush, it's just letting me work on each colour individually to begin with, because I have laid down quite a lot of different colours here. I just want to sort of use them individually to begin with. I'm just working my way around here. It's not terribly exciting, this bit. I want to keep this sort of stripy motion as well, because that's going to help with the idea that it's perhaps a sort of slightly woody area in behind here. Right, so I'm going to work on the ferns now. I see these are really just background colours, and I do want to keep some of the texture of the pencil. You know, you can keep going with the water brush and you can kind of scrub at it a little bit and it will take all of those pencil lines away. I kind of wanted to keep a little bit of that, so I'm just going very lightly with the water brush here. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep going with this until it literally disappears into this other colour that I've already put down. So I just keep going and going until I'm basically just putting water on the paper like that. I'm just trying to sort of balance my light here. I want it to be, the background to be paler in the centre and a little bit darker around the outside. So that is why I'm going around and sort of adding in these sections of this ivy pencil. And the good thing about these, as I said, is the fact that you can build it up in layers. So if you don't think you've gone deep enough or dark enough, then you know, you can err on the side of caution and stick down a couple of layers and just build them up, and it's not going to do your picture any harm. And I think 9 times out of 10 it actually makes it look slightly better. There we go. Okay, let's pick out an Inktense green for the main leaves. Now I've been going with more sort of yellowish toned pencils, so I think I'm going to go probably felt green and beach green. So you can see already that's going to pop out, you know, there's no doubt about it that these are just going to jump right off the page. Because I literally just want to activate this. I don't really want to smoosh it about too much because I want to keep that definition. Just softening it a tiny little bit. So my next question is, what kind of plants do mer giraffes eat? Well, I'm saying these are ferns, but clearly it's going to be something a bit more fantastical than a fern, isn't it? You can't have a mer giraffe that eats ferns, that's just weird. Maybe these are some sort of magical lagoon plants, and maybe they're particularly palatable to our mer giraffe friends, but maybe they have some sort of enzyme in them that helps with neck vertebrae growth or something. You can tell I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, can't you? I know I often say that I don't sleep well, and yes, mer giraffes are something that keeps me awake at night. My paper is starting to curl a little bit here. But one of the things I really like about this ELO sketchbook is that for surprisingly smooth paper, it copes well with most mediums, and it's not something I expected it to be able to do. So that has been very nice indeed. Right, I'm going to grab some cadmium yellow now out of the Inktense. I'm going to pop some of this in here. Now what I'm trying to do here as well now is join up some of my splodges, because I know I said I was just kind of like haphazardly sort of chucking everything down on the paper. You get to a point where you have to try and make it cohesive, or a little bit more cohesive, should I say. Again, not so much with the background, not as bothered about the background, but still. So I'm going to use the green grey and I'm going to press quite hard. There's a pencil called Storm, and it's a very purpley grey. I might use this. It kind of looks just like a graphite pencil, but bear with me people, bear with me viewers, dear viewers of mine. You will see what I mean in just a moment. And drawing rocks can be kind of fun because you can be quite creative about how you add in the sort of texture and the lines, and it's something I quite like doing, especially with pencil. It's fun in pencil, maybe not so much in ink. Make that bit really dark and then we can bring this down. And it's nice to be able to, you know, you can keep things quite angular as well. You don't have to get all creative and artsy fartsy. You can just draw in some straight lines and everything still looks good. And that's what I really like about it. Do you see what I mean? There's like, it's got a slightly sort of purplish tinge to it, this pencil, and it's actually a really nice colour. I was talking to someone in one of the colouring groups I'm in about this, and her and I both feel that grey is a really underrated shade, and we both like to use it. Now obviously I use it a lot because I like to draw in graphite, and grey is my sort of default colour scheme, you know, automatically, but I think grey's very underrated, and funnily enough, some of my favourite Prismacolors are actually the French greys. They're really nice, and it's one of the reasons why I go back to the Prismacolors time and time again, because there isn't an equivalent in the Polychromos. Right, what I want to do here is I'm going to ink our little giraffe friend, and because he's in the foreground, and I mean it is supposed to be like a slightly sort of tongue-in-cheek cartoony, I mean it's a mere giraffe, come on. So I want him to pop out real nice from the page. So I'm just going to grab myself one of my microns, and I'm going to go slightly bigger than I would normally go, because again, if you look back at Crayola's reference image, she does use quite thick lines, and I want to try and replicate that as much as possible. So this will still be thinner than Crayola's drawing, but it's thicker than I would do, so you know, it's kind of like a compromise. It's a meet in the middle job. So now my hand hasn't been too bad today. Some of you will know I've got an old hand injury, and I had to take a lot of nerve damage. So some days my hand is steadier than others, and when it comes to inking things, it's really the only time that it holds me back when it comes to art. So we're just going to see how this goes. Now, no laughing if it goes wrong. And it's one of those things as well, again, because this is in my sketchbook, I'm not as bothered about it. Now obviously I'm still bothered because I want to do a good job of it, and I'm filming it, and it's someone else's artwork. No pressure, Jem. But if it does go terribly wrong, it's not like it's a commissioned piece that, you know, I'm going to have to start over again from the very beginning. So that's one advantage, I suppose, of doing things like this. But it does get quite annoying, because some days it's absolutely fine and I have no issues, and other days it's horrendous, and you know, I would do a better job giving the pen to Pip to to carry on my line work for me. And the longer and straighter the line, the worse it gets. But it's just one of those things, you kind of learn to live with it, and you kind of learn to deal with it. And it's, as I say, it's not a huge deal. It's just sometimes my lines are less wobbly than others, that's all. But that's one of the reasons why I actually use a very fine liner, because if I do have a wobbly hand, I can actually go back over the line and thicken it up and sort of smooth out the wobbles. Of course, the answer to that is just draw digitally, but it's, you know, it's one of those things that I like to try and battle on, and you know, make it as good as I can, because I think the more I practice, the more I know my hand, and the more, you know, I can figure out how to correct it and stuff. So it's something that's quite important to me, actually. Although I dare say that if I didn't have this with my hand, I probably would ink more work, and I might work in ink a bit more often. See, if you take this bit away, it kind of looks like Snoopy. Okay, and I just want to add this in. I kind of want them to have little lines that come up, you know, sort of up here a little bit. Get those little nostrils in, and then he's got his little training fin. I haven't put any markings in him, so I think we better try and figure this out. I've never been very good at things like this. Like, see, when it comes to making things random, I'm just not very good at it. I think I kind of concentrate on it too much and kind of forget that it's not, you know, it doesn't need to be perfect, or it's not supposed to be perfect. I'm quite guilty of that, of trying to, like, I try so hard to make it look random that it ends up not looking random. So I'm just going to do these little googly eyes here, and then we'll do this little guy too. Just I had to add a little bit of light to the subject there. I'm starting to lose the light in the window now, so I'm going to do my sort of lagoon kelp, sea kelp, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to put a really light layer of this amber down. I'm going to be a little bit more careful in the lay down of the pencil this time. I do want it to be a little bit more uniform. It doesn't actually look like much going down on the paper here. As I said before, I think I've said it twice now, we can build it up and build it up until we are happy with it. That fuchsia colour is just outrageous. Actually, it closely matches my nails. I was just thinking to myself there, I took a wee break when I was sorting the lighting out, and I suppose this is really my first collaboration, isn't it? I suppose this is my first collaboration in a funny roundabout kind of way. So thank you, Crayola. I hope you like this. I'm really worried that you're not going to like this. Please get in touch with me. You don't have to leave a comment if you don't want to, but please get in touch and let me know what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. It goes without saying, guys, that I did ask Crayola before I started, you know, filming a video and deciding that I was going to do a video on this. I did ask her if it was okay if I did something with her artwork. My original intention was just to copy it and colour it, but I think this is much more fun. And obviously if I share it anywhere, I will credit Crayola and link her social media as well, because that's what we do. Oh, I've got a smudge there. Oh, good grief. I've just realised this light looks really yellow, and it's one of these lamps where you can change the colour, and I've actually got it on like a daylight setting, so it's like almost like a bluey white, and it's yeah, it still looks really yellow. Oh, look at that. That's lovely. Lovely. So I want something a wee bit darker as well, and I'm going to use iron green for that. I'm probably going to widen these out, but again, kind of like what I did up the top here, I'll do it with my mostly with my water brush to begin with. Again, I think I'll probably use the little brush for this, and I'll start with the lighter colour. Oh, look how much that's popping. See, that's just delicious. It is delicious and I love it. I think Derwent did really well when they were developing these pencils and designing them, because there really isn't anything else like them, and whoever thought about putting ink in a water soluble pencil is a freaking genius. And they're so versatile as well. That's what I like about them too, because you can just use them as coloured pencils, and you can also half and half them. You know, if you're in a colouring book, you can use the full set to colour the page, and you can just use your water brush on some of it to soften it up or whatever, and I just think they're fabulous. They are dreadfully expensive. See, they're very much one of a kind, and I like them. But again, I tend to like things that are, you know, a little bit out of the ordinary, a little bit different. That sort of tickles my fancy. So it's yes, I'm not surprised that I like. So the likes of here, this little stone, I'm just going to add a wee bit of detail to it, and I'm not going to activate this with a water brush, but I just want to put a little bit of texture in there, and I want a wee bit of a shadow under here, so I'm just going to go back to that sort of, excuse me, that purpley grey colour that I had on the go. And all I'm wanting to do here is just sort of ground that stone so that you realise that it's not just kind of floating about there doing its thing. It's actually attached to the bottom of our seabed, lagoon, whatever you want to call it. Right, I'm just going back over again with this amber. I just want to deepen up some of these edges, and again, this is just like sort of in keeping with what I did up the top here. You know, around the sides I kept a little bit darker. It's not quite a vignette, but it's kind of almost hinting at that. I think I may darken up these shadows as well. I might go in with a darker colour, because I think they're just going to disappear when I start doing this. I had a really nice comment today on one of my other videos, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was Mia. If it wasn't, I'm terribly sorry, other person. Mia, if it was you, then yay. But anyway, they said that they liked watching my videos because it gave them confidence to try things. And that is like the biggest compliment I think I've ever had. It really is, for that to, you know, to do that to someone, and all I'm doing is sitting here messing about with, you know, some pencils and stuff and having a bit of fun. That is just the nicest thing ever. And I'm always trying to encourage people to try things. I've said it so many times, but nobody has to see what you're doing. Nobody has to, you know, to see your artwork. It's your artwork is for you and you only. If you're proud enough to show it to someone else, then fantastic, that's great. But I really can't be doing with, you know, people say, oh, I'm too frightened to do this or whatever. I'm sorry, I just can't, I can't let you do that. I just can't let you do that, because that is not what art is all about. It should not be an anxious thing. If you are a person that does commissions, or you have to work to deadlines and you get some sort of mental block and you feel like that, that's different. But for most of us, it's a hobby, and it's supposed to be enjoyable. And if it's that point, if you've got a crippling anxiety about putting pen to paper or paint to paper, then I suggest that you either try and work on it or find another hobby, because it shouldn't be stressful. It's fun. It's supposed to be fun. I mean, look at this. I'm having a freaking ball doing this. This is great. This is better than shampooing carpets. What do I want to do that for? So this is still damp, so I can actually kind of like smoosh this in a little bit. I think I'm probably paying too much attention to the finer details here. I think this video is going to end up like 4 hours long or something, but with the magic of editing I will make it not boredom inducing length. I'm going to go back up here to my little rock just because I had this Indian ink pencil and I just want to add in a little bit of that. Now I'm going really lightly with this. I don't want it to be like super dark, but I just want to add in a few more facets. That's a fancy word for a Friday night, facets. While I'm sitting here doing this now, I'm actually thinking to myself, good God, this is going to take so much editing to get it down to a reasonable length. And I have to edit this tonight because, as I say, I think my scroller box may be due tomorrow because I have had somebody tell me that theirs has arrived. And over the last few months, I've been getting mine the day after them, which means in amongst my shampooing, I will need to film the unboxing and upload that as well. And this video is due on Sunday, so I really have to, you know, tonight is the only night that I can do this. So it may be a late night for me. Just want to pull this down. I'm not enjoying the stark whiteness of these areas, so I'm just taking some of this wet ink on the end of my water brush and just sort of squishing it over there. Transferring it. This is just, it's such a pretty colour. It really is. So I'm going to work in sections. I'm kind of going to do this half separate from this half because our mare giraffe kind of, you know, is kind of intersecting the page here. So that just seems like a good place to break it up a little bit. So lots of vehicles going back and forth. This is rather busy for a Friday night. Okay, so to get this nice sort of gradient idea, as exactly as I would do with normal coloured pencil, I'm just going to build up some layers. And I want it to be darker at the bottom and get lighter as we head up to the surface. I'm going to have to wait for that to dry and I'm going to add in some more sort of these, you know, sort of light lines, and I'm going to even this part out a bit as well. I don't want to do it, it's still too damp to do it, so I'm going to have to leave it for a little minute. So while that's happening, I'll just zoom out. And you can see our little picture's coming along quite nicely now. So now we're on to the main part, which is our mare giraffes, and I would love to have some sort of gradient here. So I am going to go golden yellow and I'm going to put that into cadmium orange, and then down at the very bottom of his cute little flippers, I am going to go into tangerine. I do love some of these pencil names as well, they're spectacular. That's one of my favourite things about Crayola pencils. I love the names that they give their pencils. Okay, so we're going to start at the top here. Now, I'm thinking that the light's going to be quite diffused because it's going to be coming through the tree, so I'm not entirely bothered about a light source, but I am going to make a slight effort to have some sort of light source coming from the top. I do want this to be like super vibrant though, because I really want this to pop out from the, you know, the background, which is why I have selected specifically just the Inktense pencils for our mare giraffe. Mare giraffe, that sounds so silly. It does sound really, really silly. So that's going to be really dark in there. I have to watch these splotchy bits as well. I could have picked more imaginative colours, but one thing that you do have to bear in mind is that my normal drawing style is quite a realistic drawing style, and you know, having like a purple and pink mare giraffe, that just tips me over the edge a bit too much. And that's just purely a stylistic thing. It's not for any other reason, but yeah, I'm more of the person that's likely to play it safe when it comes to stuff like this. So, you know, a gradient's about as out there as it's going to get. People who are illustrators or animators would probably go for a much more outlandish approach, which I fully applaud, by the way, for absolute sure, but just not for me. And look at that tangerine colour, that is just spectacular. I love it. I thought I was missing a dog somewhere. I haven't been in here for a number of hours now, but I have all 3 of them. They're all sleeping. Again, so starting where my largest concentration of pencil is, and I'm going to have to be really careful here and take my time because I want to stay inside my slightly wobbly but nonetheless inked lines. In a little bit again so that you can see. So what I'm deliberately doing here is in the darker areas I have gone over the Inktense, and I'm going to let that dry so that it gives me a bit more of a defined line, and then I'm going to go back and activate the lighter pencil above it, and it just gives you a more sort of cartoony look, and it gives you some definition. And just gives it that little bit of extra something. And I'm going to do the same here. It's not going to be as obvious in this area because you're number one, you're underwater and we're mixing these colours together and the spots kind of get in the way. Not in the way, but you know what I mean. So I'm not as concerned about this section because we can sort of amplify that effect with the spots. Look at his little tail, it's so cute. Primary tail. I'm still thinking about how to edit this video. I might have to, oh no, I went over the lines. I might have to time lapse some of this, I think. And I know most people hate time lapse, but I am trying to cram in what I'm doing in basically 3 hours. Like, this is a 3-hour drawing, and I just don't want people getting bored, and especially if they are not people that like to listen to me talk, because I know some people really don't. You know, I'm trying to sort of balance it out to cater to everybody, but just for the length of time that I've spent on this, I really don't think I'm going to be able to get away with editing it without having some sort of time lapse. So if you're not a fan of time lapse, I am terribly sorry. I am trying to accommodate as many different preferences as possible, and I hope that you understand that, which I'm sure you do. Y'all are not stupid. Oh, he's so pretty. I love him. I actually love him. Oh, goodness gracious me. Look at the little guy. I'm so excited to do the little guy now. And his little face. Oh my god. It's so cute. See these boys in these tractors? I'm going to have words. And they're away again. I think somebody must have a combine in because they brought the baler back. The baler fits on the back of the tractors and they brought it back from one of the other farms today, and Stuart, who's one of the other boys that works with us, he's just disappeared back out with it, so I think they must have started combining somewhere else that he's taken it away again. I just realised I didn't put little lines in the little dude. Oh no. I think this training fin's going to have to be this orange colour as well. Tangerine. And I'm just going to fade that out to very light. Oh, here's Mr. Jem coming. I might have to take a bit of a pit stop, guys. I'll return. Okay, I'm back after a very long intermission because dogs and farming and stuff. Anyway, I did a little bit while I wasn't filming there. I've put a shadow in under this rock here just to make it a little bit more interesting. And I've also just added a few more little parts of blue in. So it is now 9:25. We've been at this a long time. But we will get finished. I promise we will get finished. So all we've got left to do now was little snail friend down here and some of these little spots on our mare giraffes. So for the spots on our mare giraffe, I am going to use a colour called Red Oxide. And on these upper parts, I am going to try and, as much as possible, stick with the fact that there might be a little bit of a light source somewhere, but it's really not imperative. So wow, this is like arduous. I started this at like 5:30 or something. I can't even remember now. It was so long ago, and I have had perhaps slightly more Jack Daniels than one should have to keep a professional capacity. I would just like to point out at this juncture as well, look at the colour difference. See, when I activate this pencil with water, the colour difference, it looks really brown when it's just down in pencil, but when you add water to it, it goes this like really lovely deep reddish colour. It is called Red Oxide, so that makes sense. And see, I'm starting in the paler parts here because I want that sort of almost, not a highlight, but a paler area. There we go. This is lovely. I'm having so much fun with this. This is so out of the ordinary for me. You know, this is something that I would never normally paint or draw off my own. Oh, Pip's just knocked me. Oh my goodness. Gone over the lines again. I'm going to see if I can wash this out just with This is Pip trying to squeeze in under the desk again. She's making life difficult for me. Yeah, this isn't something that I would normally conjure up from my own imagination. So once again, I just like to thank the star of the show, Crayola Skies, for providing me with her beautiful mare giraffe, because this is awesome. This is good funsies. Oh, everyone's flapping their ears now. Right, come on, go and settle down. Okay, I'm going down to our little sea snail type friends here. And the first thing I'm going to do is try and get rid of some of the graphite in the eyeballs of this one because he's looking a bit grey. That's better. So I was looking for like sort of complementary colours. Complementary colours for my sort of orangey reddy of my little giraffe type mermaids. So if we have a look at the colour wheel here, I know y'all love a good bit of colour wheel. When we're looking at these colours, we're kind of in this area. And if we want a direct complementary colour, we need to follow the big thick black line here. And that takes us to sort of purples. So I was thinking like purpley blues for this little dude down here, because he's the only other part that's meant to pop out that I've done in he's the only part that I've done in the fine liner. That's what I was trying to spit out there. So for our little dude's body, I have got dusky, it's really difficult because of an artificial light now, dusky purple. And there really isn't any rhyme nor reason to the light source or anything like this, because he's way down at the bottom for a kick-off. I'm not going to be overly fussed about that. But I just wanted something that wasn't quite grey and not entirely purple either. So I'm whacking down it fairly heavily. You know, I'm leaning quite heavily there on the top part. You can see that. And just a little bit later. But I'm going to start on the darkest part. Look at the purple starting to pop already. I freaking love these pencils. I really do. I seem to have a really heavy water flow out of this pen all of a sudden. If anyone is interested, or for some of our newer viewers who haven't seen a lot of my videos, I really like, these are the Kuretake water brushes. They are, the water flow is better than most for control. If you can't get a hold of these, and they seem to be difficult to get, I don't know if they actually make these particular ones anymore, but the Pentel water brushes are really good as well. That would be like my second choice. So if anyone's in the market for a water brush for any reason, I would highly recommend these Kuretake. They used to be called the H2O, but see, I haven't seen them advertised much now, and I don't know if you can still get them, because I have had these for, you know, a couple of years now. But my second choice would be the Pentel ones. They're pretty good. Just to sort of finish off what's going on this part here, if we take a look at the drawing in its entirety now, it looks as if our giraffe made things are just, they're basically sitting in front of the water. So I'm going to take my blue pencil again, which was the sea blue Inktense, and I am using the side of my pencil, and note how far back I am holding the pencil. I am just going to run a sort of light squish, and I'm going to go back and forth and make it quite abstract, but I am going to go over the top of these because they need to look like they are in the water, not in front of the water. Now, it's really easy to go too heavily on this and end up muddying up your colours, which is what you don't want, but it's important to push them into that background a little bit and know that the water's in front. And then I can use, in fact, I'm going to bring this down like round here. There we go. And then I can use the darker colour in at the bottom. And I would like to get quite a sort of intense colour here. So we're going to be really careful when we're activating this, because again we could end up with a really sort of muddy mess. So I've got my teeny tiny brush, and I am just going to go around our pinky colour first. And look at that, that's just popping out, that's beautiful. That actually might be closer to the colour of my nails. Once again, another intermission. I had to sort Mr. Jem out. It is now 10 to 11 at night and he's still working. So I had to feed him and some of our other boys, but I've sent him away with I was going to say a packed lunch. You can hear him in his tractor, he's leaving now. Ah, jeez. yeah, the boys are hungry and it's too late at night to go and get takeaway, which they do sometimes. Sometimes they have a little pit stop. But being in a rural area, it's not easy to get to places, and a lot of places still are shut now, you know, they're not open. So anyway, you can probably understand why I don't have a lot of time to myself and I struggle to squeeze things in everywhere. It's a common occurrence, but there's lots of benefits to it. I know I sound like I'm having a really good whinge, but I wouldn't change the way I live for the world. I enjoy it very much. All right, I think we might be finished with all our squidgillion pencils. Do you know what? I have to say I am quite happy with this. I'm quite proud of it. And I really hope, Crayola, that this has done your little picture justice. Again, if we just look at the original, I would like to think that we've done a good job here. I've had really good fun doing this, although it's been very fragmented this evening. That this has been really relaxing, and I think now at this time of night I may not go back to my carpet cleaning. So there's only one, well actually there's two things left to do, not one, that's a lie. I'm going to grab myself a little white gel pen. I would prefer to use gouache, but I'm not digging it out at this time. So I'm just going to check that it's running properly. There we go. Always keep a little post-it notepad beside me, and it's handy for stuff like that. And yeah, I just want to sort of add in a few finishing touches. And again, I don't need to be particularly careful with this. It's just to give a feel and a little bit of a highlight on some of our rocks over there. And now there is only one thing left for me to do, and that is to sign the bottom. And I'm going to pick an Inktense pencil to do it, and I'm going to do it in Lagoon, and I'm just going to pop it down here at the bottom. And that is me. I would like to thank you all very much for hanging out with me tonight if you have been able to join, although this will be tomorrow morning if you watch, no, it'll be Sunday morning if you watch the video early on. I've had really good fun with this, and it's been a really nice distraction from everything that's going on. I would love to hear your comments on this, and you can tell me what you think. And as always, we will see you really soon in the cave for another video. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a good day. Bye for now.